Like many of you, I grew up watching Star Wars. But unlike many of you, I didn't really love it as a kid. Sure, I watched the OG trilogy and the prequels with my family, but Star Wars just never really stuck with me. A more peaceful time in my life. However, this summer I decided to give Star Wars a real shot. My girlfriend loves Star Wars, and I wanted to be a part of this aspect of her life, so I just decided to jump in balls deep and see what all this commotion was about. I figured it made the most sense to start with episode 1 and watched every single thing in chronological order. And I mean everything. All the movies, all the shows, all the animated shows, and all the holiday specials. And man, after 6 months of straight grinding, all I can say is, I hate how much I love this abomination of a franchise. So, let's start off with the things I love about Star Wars. I love the first 6 movies as a whole, even if only like 2 to 3 of them are actually good. Sure, the dialogue is absolutely horrid, the CGI was a bit strange at times, and the story wasn't always perfect, but by God, do I still love them, flaws and all. The story was fun, the world was riveting, the fights were electric, and overall, these first 6 films just have an air about them that is just so Star Wars. So all that being said, what went wrong? Where did this franchise go from something that I absolutely loved with all my heart to something I still love, but I'm sort of scared to go near? It's when Disney bought it. It's what most Star Wars fans would tell you, but I don't agree with that take, at least not fully. So let's talk about it, the elephant in the room, if you would. Since Disney purchased Star Wars, to say they've had a rocky time with it would be an understatement. But before I get into the specifics about all the issues that have arisen since Disney purchased Lucasfilm in 2012, I want to actually go over the things that Disney has done well. First of all, I really enjoyed Clone Wars. It's actually one of my favorite things in Star Wars. The characters are all done a ton of justice. There's a ton of lore. There are some phenomenal arcs that I think anyone who likes Star Wars should check out. And all in all, the Clone Wars was just super fun. However, I will say the Clone Wars is definitely inconsistent, with some arcs being far worse than others. But Disney has made a product that is consistent. Problem is, a large majority of Star Wars fans haven't seen it. And if you don't know where I'm going with this or what I'm talking about, it's Andor. Andor is phenomenally well written, with an immersive story, great characters, a world that feels real and tangible. And as tragic as this sounds, it's probably the best written thing Star Wars has done since 1980. Mando Season 1 was also really good. Din is a great character. Baby Yoda is cute, and the weekly bounty hunter thing was super fun. And even though it's not perfect, and definitely has some long-lasting flaws, I had fun with The Force Awakens, and often say it would have been a very solid worst movie in the trilogy. But sadly, that is where my praises for Disney's Star Wars sort of end. And now I have to get into the part of Star Wars that really broke my heart. The sequels broke my heart, man. I don't even really know what to say. Every single thing that made me fall in love with Star Wars was quite literally destroyed in these films. My favorite character, who went through a full, cohesive arc where he goes from an on-the-run smuggler to a full-blown hero, gets reduced to a fraction of who he was, and then proceeds to be murdered. My symbol of hope, who was so good that he was able to pull Darth Vader back into the light, was reduced to a milk-drinking, angry hobo. And just when it seems like he might be making a comeback, he's murdered by Rian Johnson. And the one character that I actually really liked in The Force Awakens, Finn, gets absolutely no development beyond it. Our main character, Rey, has, well, no character other than just being the best. The world building gets absolutely destroyed with this dumb Exegol shtick. Force ghosts were ruined. People dying in Star Wars was ruined. Space battles were ruined. Dialogue is still trash. Nothing made sense. And now I'm just sitting here wondering why I even decided to watch these in the first place. I should have just stayed in my little hole with the stuff I liked and never fell in love with this franchise. And to make matters worse, it doesn't even end here. Mando Season 2 was a hot mess that relied on cheap fan service of Luke Skywalker. Book of Boba Fett was an absolute joke. Mando Season 3 made me sit there and wonder how we even got here in the first place. Ahsoka was the most disappointing thing I've ever witnessed as a fan of the Clone Wars. Obi-Wan was a disgrace to the character. Rebels has some good stuff, but it's clunky and boring overall. Star Wars Resistance doesn't even exist. And Tales of the Jedi is actually fire. I like that one, and please don't screw that one up too. Point is, Star Wars is a mess right now. All of the characters that I so quickly fell in love with were ripped from me just as fast. All of the things that made Star Wars different and unique either don't exist anymore or have been completely annihilated. Star Wars has somehow gone from one of the most successful and respected franchises of all time to an absolute laughingstock. Like, seriously, you can't tell me Star Wars doesn't kind of remind you of a toxic ex-girlfriend you dated a few years back. But all that being said, I still remain hopeful. Maybe it's due to stupidity. Maybe it's due to being slightly dumb. Or maybe it's due to the fact that deep down, I'll never be able to let go of all the love and connections that I have built up with this franchise. Regardless of how bad the products get, I'm still here. Like many of you, I will continue to watch all the shows. Ironically enough, I'm actually watching Bad Batch while writing this video. I will continue to hope, and I will probably continue to be hurt every time I get another disappointment of a new product delivered to my Disney Plus subscription. All in the hope of one day seeing something that will remind me of all the great times I had with my favorite, terrible, awful franchise, Star Wars.